the community chat know that we are going live. And welcome in, folks. Like all the other sessions, we'll give it a minute or two before we jump in. Chat. And Catherine, just because they were going right up to the hour on the other one, and just so you know, I think next time we're going to start every session 5 minutes late, because back-to-back sessions online get hard for the humans. But it would be also weird to change it in the middle of the conference right now, especially for the speakers and everyone.
I once went to a face-to-face conference that was on a campus and didn't actually book any time to get from one to the next. I was like, that's an utter fail.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Everything was late. Everything. Because, of course, you had to walk from one place to the campus, Anyway.
Yeah, the state of SEO has come up in a few of the other sessions, and so I am super excited for this session myself. And so, okay, looks like we have a decent at least initial number of folks in on the live, and so we'll go ahead and get things kicked off. So we are here in Surviving the Search Apocalypse, how nonprofits can sustain free website traffic in an AI-driven world. And Catherine, I can't tell you how excited I am. I was just mentioning we've been talking about SEO in several of the sessions and site content, and I was like, you know what? We don't need to get too far into the theoreticals on some of this because we've got a session on Wednesday, and Catherine is just a deep expert on SEO, both in the things that you do via your company's work, and also, just so folks know, we already have a live course, and we're about to roll out multiple self-paced courses. Oh, thumbs up! The funny live emoji thing, right? I don't know if folks saw that thumb down. I got to give a thumbs up to the course. What's it doing here? Anyways, Catherine, I'll let you better introduce yourself, and everyone here, you'll definitely get notifications about the courses. They will actually be live in the same community we're in. So a big part of the restructuring I've been trying to work through at the end of last year into this year is getting everything into one place. So the live event happens, the recordings, and then courses that you can take as well. So Catherine, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, and I'll step back.
Great. So this is me. I've been doing SEO for 20 years. I actually got on the internet in 94 when I built my first website in college. I've worked for a decade actually with nonprofits before I flipped corporate. And my last nonprofit job at Environmental Working Group, you might remember that cell phone radiation report that was launched. So the digital strategy was my baby, and unfortunately we crashed the website for 4 days. It was that successful, but we still got 1.2 million visitors, up from 300,000. I've also done some social media. I was a VP of social media at Ketchum for a bit, and we helped New Yorkers at the New York Obamacare Exchange get registered with social media customer service. I launched the digital strategy for healthit.gov, and we were able to actually switch query volume from electronic health records, EHR, to EMR with the entire campaign, which included press and some other things. So I've worked with 3 federal websites, and currently I work with a lot of academic journals. So these are some of the brands that I'm currently working with, or I have worked with. And this is going to be a fast-paced session. This is not intro to SEO. I'm just going to tell you. The space has been changing very quickly over the last 2 years. I'm overwhelmed, and I've been doing this for 20 years. So what we're going to focus on today is what has been shifting, because there are some radical shifts that have happened, particularly how people are actually searching and discovering new concepts. I'm going to talk about how important social media is and how integrated it needs to be with your search plan. And then we'll talk about the AI overviews, how you can create a plan to rank for them, how you can rank in LLMs and what that looks like, and how quickly you might need to create a plan for that. And in general, just how to future-proof your organic traffic. So let's start with the bad news. A lot of the data I'm going to show you is from SparkToro. SparkToro was created by Rand Fishkin, who originally was the CEO of Moz, which is one of the original SEO softwares out there. So if you want to track down any of this additional data, SparkToro is the place to go. So this is his research he partners with Datos, which is a big data firm. This is looking at search queries. So here in the US, only 41% of queries actually result in a click. The rest of them, either nothing happens because they get the entire answer in search, or they do another search. So out of the 100, we get maybe 40 to play with, but you'll notice that some of those go back to a Google property, not particularly to you. So of the 40 that's left, additional research from SparkToro has shown that most people actually already know what they want when they get to search. So they are definitively searching for either navigational type queries or brands, like you can see Rick Steves. So they automatically know they want to go to Rick Steves. They're not like, I need a travel guide to Italy. That's not happening on search anymore. Also, out of the 40% is left, some of these are navigational. So this would be things like, I'm going directly to a brand website, looking for a local restaurant, that kind of stuff. So what's left over for us is 3.6% of the overall demand of search queries, less than 11 searches a month in relation to the overall pile. This means that big brands and topics are winning. Google has definitively been the place to go now after you figured it out. People are going elsewhere to figure out how to solve their problem. And once they've solved it and they have a brand in mind, they go back to search. It's a huge change. So let's talk about these AI overviews. This is part of the problem, right? So this is what the Google AI overview looks like. Unfortunately, these are shown a lot for health queries and information queries. And don't get me started about how bad it is for an AI to be providing health answers, considering they make crap up about 30% of the time, but that's the state of the world at the moment. So this is Google's, this is Bing's. This one is even more extensive. I actually couldn't even take all the screenshots because it kept going. But on the left there, you see the first part of the screenshot. That's all AI answers with a handful of references, right? And then that's the second one is actually below, and it just keeps going. And there is a test out there where we can see Google's doing a similar thing where the entire dang page is an AI answer with references. We don't know if that's going to roll live, but they are testing it. The other bad news is these things are increasing. Yeah. So anyway, these have doubled since September. And then this most recent research from Sierra Interactive shows that when an AI overview is shown, your click-through rate tanks. So the organic click-through rate when an AI overview is shown is 0.64%, not even 1%. And check out the paid is just as bad. If it isn't shown, we get like a 4% click-through rate. But click-through rates are decreasing in search. I'm not going to say don't do search, but I do think we need to reshuffle where you're spending your time potentially. Okay, so this is ChatGPT. This is looking at overall visits to ChatGPT, which we know is not all searching, right? Because people go there, I go there, I ask it to create a meta description. That's not searching. But it's already overtaken the amount of visits to Bing. And in fact, now based on users, I believe I just saw yesterday that it's as big as Twitter. So it's growing really fast. So this is the estimated growth of ChatGPT in the next 3 years. It's kind of just taking off. So you can't ignore ChatGPT and the fact there's search functions inside an LLM. Okay, the other thing is that people, instead of searching in Google, are actually searching on social, which is mind-boggling. This is really strong. This is actually all ages. So all ages US, and you can see only 34% go straight to a search engine. 24% do both. Another 24% actually go straight to social instead. This gets even worse when you get to your younger ages. So
it still hurts my brain. It hurts my brain. And when I started to understand Gen Z using TikTok, literally the way I use Google hurt my brain, and then started to make sense as I understood their idea of the internet is just so different than mine.
It is so different.
Really
it's so different. Yeah. So you can see Gen Z, only 30% of them go to Google to search. Most of them are on YouTube. Millennials is 44%. Again, most of them are on YouTube. I always recommend with all of my clients, after search, if you're going to do the next social property, I know it's hard to create videos, though easier now with AI. You got to do YouTube next because there's additional benefits from being on YouTube. You can rank in YouTube, and also 96% of the videos that are appearing in Google are YouTube videos. I've only seen one client of mine, Fisheries, who's had a non-YouTube video or a non-YouTube video ranking in search. So doing YouTube correctly is absolutely the next best step. It's also the second largest search engine globally. So it should be where you are over Facebook. But anyway, it's changing. So people are going elsewhere. They also could be doing things like Facebook groups, chatting with their friends on text, an email newsletter. I mean, there's a variety of places they could be going to figure out the solution and brand that they are looking for to solve their problem, and then going back to search. Also, Google is shoving all this social into search. So this was an update in the fall, I want to say 23, it's been around for a little bit, where they wanted to show hidden gems. That's what the update was called. So first person perspectives in search, i.e. social posts from a person who seems like they have expertise. So this is on the right, that's like the mobile view. And that was actually when you had a perspective tab you could turn on. And on the left here, you can see that it's like discussion stuff on the bottom, those core type social media platforms. The other bad news, this again is from SparkToro, is that a lot of these platforms suppress you if you put a link in your post, is really the big takeaway. So the thing I've highlighted there is that the algorithm prioritizes native content, so stuff without a link. The only ones that are going to let you show up well organically with a link are Pinterest, Quora, Reddit, and Blue Sky's not on there. It's kind of small, but Blue Sky also. So this means you actually have to rethink the kind of content you're sharing on social as well. Okay, so then the last thing that's part of the apocalypse is our data loss. There is so much less organic traffic data than we had before. So there's a variety of reasons. The first one is people reasons. So they either strip your UTM, they decline cookies. If you have a lot of not sets in your GA, it's because your target audience is tab hoarders. I'm a tab hoarder. I got 1,000 tabs open because the tabs will error out and basically restart a new session after 7 days. So that's a return user, but you wouldn't know it's a return user because the tab's been sitting there open forever. I mean, my phone actually has a new function that tells you I have 71 tabs that I haven't looked at in like a week. I'm a tab hoarder. The other thing is that people block cookies. In the US, 67% of people block cookies. That's most of your people. That's like 3/4. Then the other problem is GA4 issues. And I had a great interview with Dana Tomasio. It's going to be on my podcast next month, where she talks about this a lot. Or you should feel free to Google her. She's got a great whiteboard Friday. But she talks about how in the current state of analytics now, nothing is definitive. You can't talk in absolutes. It's absolutely impossible to know how many users you have unless you have a login. Bounce rate is gone. You absolutely cannot measure that. AI search, mobile visitors, all of those are lumped into direct. We call it kind of dark search. But yeah, they're not in the organic bucket. They're indirect. So ultimately, you should be sharing percentages in your reporting and trends, not definitive numbers, because you don't have a definitive number. Okay, so let's talk about what's at stake for you guys. This is from the M&R benchmark. This is how much you rely on organic traffic. So generally nonprofits, about 44% is organic traffic. Environmental nonprofits, it's half. So this is a huge issue for you all. And unfortunately, a lot of your content's information-based, so you have an AI overview appearing probably. I also want to share information about what happens when you stop or don't do these activities. Now, I don't know how many of you on the call now are doing SEO, but if you stop SEO, we have a case study actually that talks about how much you would lose organic traffic. So by year 3, you're going to lose 30% of your organic traffic if you stop. Similar with social. This is actually from Neil Patel. I usually never share something from Neil Patel, but I thought this data was great. And this looks at what happens when you stop sharing on social media. And if you were a business, look at the revenue number. You actually start losing revenue, right? So these are always on activities. You cannot stop. You've just got to pivot and figure out what the changes are and try to create stuff that's going to be shared more effectively. So what are we doing this year? One, you have to know where your audience is and go where they are, regardless of where that is. This is a influence map from SparkToro. I think it's a great way for you to think about your searcher's journey as they interact with you as a nonprofit and thinking through what platform they would be on. So you put the content in the right place. Yeah. So feel free to grab that. If you're wondering about, okay, how would I know what place they are at each stage of the journey? Again, SparkToro. So SparkToro has free searches. So everybody should create an account and play around. You can also turn it on for a monthly user. And Honestly, you can then spin it down after a month if you've gotten all the data you need. But I put in Indivisible's website, and it tells me what social platform they over-index on. So they over-index on YouTube, 96% high, and they under-index on X, former Twitter. It also tells me that there are particular queries that also index with this audience. So you automatically can connect your audience to queries, even though you might not have known that was what your folks were searching for. Also, it'll tell you what subreddits they're on and podcasts and what people they follow, so you know exactly where you should be going with your influencer campaigns. The other thing you need to do, step 2, is coordinate your search and social, because all of this social is ranking and search. This on the right, this is from Ahrefs. It's an SEO tool. So just letting you know, when you put in a keyword and you look at all of your keywords as a whole, you can then toggle and say, when is a discussion and forum showing, when's X showing, when's an AI overview showing, etc. Caveat though, both Ahrefs and SEMrush is a long story about why this happens, but they show less AI overviews than you would expect. They don't show 100%. If you really want to know how many times your keywords are appearing in an AI overview happens, you need to turn on ziptie.dev. Again, it's monthly. It's not that expensive, but they show 7 times more AI overviews. So don't rely on your native SEO tools. Spin up ZipTie. So the steps are, okay, so what platforms are showing for my target keywords? So yes, there's SparkToro saying, okay, got to be in YouTube, clearly, because my website, it's YouTube. Additionally, for this keyword, adopt a dog, I got to be on Quora, right? And then maybe I start interacting with some of these Reddits down here. So you either create content or you try to get your brand mentioned on one of these forums. Now, I'll tell you, Quora is stupidly easy. You create an account, you find a question that's unanswered, you provide your answer, you link back to your website, done. It's so easy. But Reddit is a bit like Wikipedia. So if you know anything about Wikipedia, they have editors, they hate marketing. You can't blatantly show up and then just you puke your marketing stuff all over the subreddit. They will kick you out. You will lose your user rights. However, if you are curious about how you could engage organically on Reddit, I have a guide on my website. It'll be listed in the back of this deck, which goes through, has a case study of an actual brand who did that. It was actually a software as a service brand, but they did a great way of introducing themselves to the subreddit editor, et cetera, and successfully engaged organically. 3, keep your organic visitors. It's so dang hard for them to find you in the first place. Make sure you're converting them. And there's no reason why you can't be smart about this. So make sure you're capturing email or phone number, right? And if you don't have user tracking, there is free user tracking inside Bing Webmaster Tools. So there is no reason not to be doing it. Go get Microsoft Clarity installed on your website. It has rage clicks. It has pages that are not visits. It's got video recorded, everything you want for free. And the reason I tell you this is that last year we had a leak of the entire Google algorithm. It was like early Christmas for SEOs. And one of the things out of many things that came out of the algorithm leak was that Google is watching users on Chrome, on the phone, and in the desktop browser. And they know exactly when people get lost on your website or whether they click from search and go to your website and bail and go back quickly. If they bail and go back quickly, our industry calls it pogo sticking. That's bad. If they land on your website and spend a long time before going back to search, that's good, and that will impact your rankings. Yeah? The other thing is Google has UX playbooks for all sorts of industries. Now, the closest one to nonprofits is this news and content one, but I would go ahead and read it. They, across many companies and organizations in these different industries, they'll blatantly tell you, do this, do that, don't do this. Make sure you're tracking your key events in GA4. That was relatively a new announcement, so just make sure you've got the conversion events tracking. Install Microsoft Clarity. You can use LLMs to test your UX, and it's actually brilliant. So I've got a post there or a prompt there you can steal, but then I also have an entire spreadsheet to help you track your improvement ideas with a variety of different prompts. So make sure you're improving your UX, improving that conversion rate. Okay, 4. Because LLMs are taking off so quickly, you have to figure out how much you currently have and start looking at the trend to figure out how quickly you need to move on getting your brand ranking well in LLM search. So again, SparkToro, when you go into SparkToro, there's a search and AI tools navigation, and it will tell you if your audience over-indexes in OpenAI or Perplexity or whatever. It'll tell you the exact LLM your audience is using. So make sure you check out there. You can also set up reporting in GA4 now. So you can either do this exploration report, I give the instructions right here, or there's a custom channel report, which is a little bit probably better in the long term. And there's a video walkthrough from Kickpoint there. And then I've also have Looker Studio reports. So you can compare how much LLM traffic you're getting versus your organic traffic. Okay, 5, you need a strategy for AI overviews. If you're not currently doing it, you're late. You needed a strategy like last year. But before I get into it, I want to make sure we're covering some of these acronyms so I don't lose you, okay? So natural language processing, NLP, it's what computers use to understand your queries or a sentence. They can also use it to understand entities in your text. So verb, object, subject, etc. Also allows search engines to understand how relevant the text is to the subject. And Google's been using it since 2017. It can also spot sentiment, and it's used in Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant, Translate, Gmail, Google Search. There's other algorithms used in Google Search. In fact, it changes based on the type of query. But the big one is BERT and MUM. And then Google is using NLP to generate these AI overviews. Yeah. Language models. I've already used the acronym LLM. Those are trained on all of our content. They stole our content, including mine, which is not great. So we're going to watch the lawsuits. But they trained on all the content on the internet, whether they had access to it legitimately or not. And they take text from you. And what they do is they just predict the next set of words. So they're a bit like Mad Libs. They are not doing any sort of strategy, any advanced thinking. They're just really dang good at doing this prediction model, yeah? And making it human sounding and confident. RAG, retrieval augmented generation. So some of these LLMs have access to an index, and they're using that in their answer. So not only do they have the stuff they were trained on, but then they go to like a Google index or Bing index. You can play with this yourself. So if you want to spin up Notebook LM from Google, it's an amazing tool. You can load up your own copy, so all of the stuff you've written, and then prompt it. So ask questions of your own written copy, including podcasts and audio things and videos. Definitely worth trying. Okay, so let's talk about how to rank in overviews. 1, you have to be in the top 10. So this is like everyday SEO stuff. The stuff I'm not covering in this deck, but is definitely in the training. So make sure you rank in the number top 20. Cosine similarity. This is math. Turns out Google's been doing this for a while. The SEO industry only figured it out, frankly, this year. Mike King, who is one of the best technical SEOs you can follow, is writing a book about Google, and this is how he discovered it. And all of our SEO software actually don't help us with this. So if you want help with this, you have to go to a Market Brew and some other places to help you figure out the cosine similarity. So what happens is that there's math behind it. Google will take the topic, turn it into a text embedding, take your paragraph of text, turn that into a text embedding, map them in 3-dimensional space. That looks like this. And the closer they are to 0, the more related they are semantically. Further away, less related. This matters because you will rank with you will be a reference in the AI overview if your paragraph of text is closely cosine similarity related to the topic. So you have to actually use the Market Brew tool. I have a couple other tools as well, but you have to tackle this math problem to rank in the overviews. Okay, technical stuff. You have to load quickly. You can't have JavaScript as one of your powering your text because most LLM crawlers actually can't render JavaScript, so they won't see it at all. The only 3 that do is Applebot, Googlebot, and Bingbot. So make sure if you have a JavaScript problem, you can do this by getting the web developer toolbar, install it in Chrome, turn off JavaScript, reload your website, and try to navigate. And if you have trouble, it's powered by JavaScript, okay? So it also needs to be really fast because it turns out these crawlers time out pretty quickly. It turns out under 5 seconds. You also need to make sure you match the search intent. So I'll give you an example of search intent. When I worked with fisheries, division of NOAA, it was a typical Fed activity. They shipped me their acronyms and they said, for these acronyms, what do you think we should put in our keyword list and rank for? And on the list was ACL. And I giggled because I was like, of course, that's knee stuff. Google shows knee stuff, not your fish committee that's named ACL, right? So you have to make sure that when you're writing, you go and you look and see what's appearing in Google and make sure your answer is similar to what's already appearing. And frankly, John Mueller from Google will say you have to write something that is better than what's currently ranking. So you have to go look each time. There's no quick this to this. You can't do it with the tool. You have to go look, ideally in incognito. But also this custom GPT will actually help you figure out if your copy matches the search intent. So a little bit of a shortcut. Okay, you have to create a credible fragment. This is actually a fragment that was used in a reference to an AI overview. That's why it's got some of the stuff in purple. There was actually a research paper done about AI overviews, and they discovered that AI overviews really like stuff that has citations, quotes, and statistics. I've linked to the research report there, but it has to be trustworthy. Yeah. You also have to make helpful content. This is actually an update that happened in the fall of 23, but it's definitely a big impact now. So Google said, we now need you to create people first, helpful content. And you have to demonstrate the author's experience, expertise, authority, and trust. Now, before it was only EAT without the double E's, but now it's this hands-on experience thing. That means you need to have a bio, and the bio needs to demonstrate that the person has experience in the topic. Yeah. And if you ever want to look at a good example of this, you should look at how Healthline makes it very clear who has edited and written their content and their editorial policies, et cetera, et cetera. Go take a look at how they do it. They're like one of the best examples. Now, the helpful content update, it's important to note that this also actually impacts your stuff even getting into Google's database. So if you didn't know, there's actually 4 technical steps before you even get to ranking. If you look at the pyramid, it goes in order. Google has to discover your URL, then crawl it, then render the JavaScript, then possibly put it in the database that's indexing. Then you can finally start ranking, okay? Well, it turns out that this helpful content update actually potentially limits you from getting in the database in the first place. So if your content is low quality enough, you won't get into the database. The only way you can tell if your content is quality enough is, one, I'm going to give you a couple ChatGPT custom GPTs to check, but also inside Bing Webmaster Tools, another reason to turn it on, they will actually tell you if a particular URL is not indexed because it has low quality content. Google doesn't tell you, but I'm sure if Bing is flagging a URL, Google probably also thinks the same. So here's a guide about how to provide helpful content. It's got a list of questions you should ask yourself when you're looking at content. Think about why you're creating it. Realize this helpful content update also means good UX. The UX is a piece of this. And then this custom GPT will actually let you evaluate whether your content is helpful or not. I did not create these GPTs. I'm just sharing them. The other option for appearing in these AI overviews is what the industry likes to call barnacle SEO, because like a barnacle, you latch on to somebody else. So if you're not ranking, but something like Quora is, that's where you create an account, you answer the question, link back to your stuff. Pretty easy. If it's some of the other ones, you know, the strategy gets a little bit more complicated. But if you seek YouTube, then maybe it's an option for you to create a YouTube video. So think about barnacle SEO, especially if you're not currently ranking in the top 20. Okay, and let's pivot to Bing. So for Bing, create a Bing Webmaster Tools account. Check to see if you have any content quality issues inside the account. Grab the code for Clarity, install Clarity. Use Index Now. So Bing has less money, frankly, to crawl than Google does. So it's encouraged all of us to use this thing called Index Now. Now, there's instructions here, but then there's also this actual free tool where you could go ahead and submit your XML sitemap, and ZipTie, the one that helps you with the AI overviews, will actually help you submit to Index Now for free. And I've got a bunch of other Bing optimization tips on my website, but Bing particularly really likes good HTML formatting, H1, nested H2, etc. And if you don't have it, they actually add it on before they put your content in the index. I also think you should think about creating content for the searcher's journey. So not only the first question, but the next question, partially because in the beta of Google's rolling out the AI overviews, they give you an option to trigger the next question. So if you automatically create content across the journey, you might have a chance to rank for the next question. ChatGPT lets you do some of this already. And if you're curious about what the questions might be in search, there's the people also search for chunk, but then also there's also asked, which is free, which will help you generate a ton of questions. Your SEO tools also help you do this. Okay, so how would you measure your impact for the overviews? The only one is ZipTie. You can use the other tools. It's just you're going to miss stuff. So if you ever like use the other tools and then ship it to your boss and your boss does a hand check, they'll be like, why didn't you catch this one? So just, it doesn't make any sense. Just use ZipTie. I will tell you though, these AI overviews change rapidly. I think The latest I've seen is that they're changing hourly. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do this. Just make sure you set expectations that these are more volatile than regular searches. And regular search was changing pretty quickly anyway. Rankings could change every couple of hours, but this one is particularly fast. In Google Analytics, you can see if you're getting traffic from an AI overview answer if you see this hashtag text thing. So this is actually from one of my clients, GA. It will be in the direct bucket, not organic. But you can see that these are actually, instead of being direct, these are actually AI overview clicks. The bad news is Google Search Console and Webmaster Tools happily told us that the data is there, but then they won't let us segment the dang thing. So useless. Okay, and then I do think that you should be creating a testing and optimization framework for this. I have a testing plan spreadsheet that you can download. You should be measuring your traffic and then start to make predictions based on the data I just gave you about how fast it's going to be growing. And do some A/B testing of your AI optimized content and measure your visibility. This is pure testing. I gave you a couple of things that we know is working, but generally you're just going to have to test. Okay, let's talk about LLMs. How do you get into the LLMs? It's actually radically different. So it's not about a position or ranking. It's about being included in the answers and the summaries and the conversations the LLM is having. And to do that, you need to make sure your brand and the topic you want your brand known for are in the training set used by the LLM. That's how you get it to work. So the things you need to do is make sure you're allowing LLM crawling. I have a robot text file in this deck. Make sure your content is meeting all the EEAT things, as well as being clear about entities and semantically having relationships. So the semantic keywords that should be next to the main keywords are there. Make sure it's matching search intent. You have these concise, structured responses. So it's very much like Fraggles. I have a guide on my website talking about Fraggles. So make sure the paragraph is very succinct. And then make sure you're interlinking your semantic topics together, because we know that Google, out of the algorithm leak, actually has a topical authority piece for websites. So they will say X website isn't, like Healthline isn't an expert in health or particular spots of health. American Cancer or the Breast Cancer Society is an expert in breast cancer, for instance. And it's actually harder. I have some clients that cover multiple topics, and this topical authority problem is actually a problem for them. But just to know, there's a topical authority, and the way you become a topical authority is this interlinking stuff, as well as having mentions across the internet with your brand and your topic. So to structure your content to be in an LLM, it's like a featured snippet tile response. If you don't know what a featured snippet is, come to my website. I have a guide. You're going to want to create this hierarchical structure, fall back in love with the 1994 HTML kind of formatting. FAQ sections work really well. And then make sure you're using related keywords and entities and topics. If you have an SEO tool, it's going to make this related keyword thing very easy. You're going to want to cluster topics together around the same topic. This is what it would sort of look like. You're going to want to create strategic internal links around one topic. If you don't know what other pages on your website are related semantically, I have a prompt for you there for LLM chat to help you out. Just make sure you're using an LLM that has access to the internet. So it would be Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, because ChatGPT uses Bing. You're also going to make sure all of this is more conversational. So there used to be a report, and I think it's still live. It was the New York Times was looking at however many tokens were taken from various websites. So I put my website in, I put National Academy's journal website in, and my website had more tokens taken from it than National Academy's. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. But then when I thought about it, I did this whole series of daily SEO tips, which was me talking into a mic, like on a topic. It was very kind of informal, very conversational. And I think that's why they stole so many tokens from my website. But make sure your stuff is easy to read, because the LLM wants to spit it out in an easy to read manner, right? Integrate your synonyms. The kind of content that AI recommends is YouTube. Evergreen content that addresses common topics, but make sure you're covering it in a unique way. Make sure you're covering any of your context-based triggers, such as stories of impact that are unique to you, donor success stories, again, unique to you. Make sure you're refreshing content. And again, Microsoft Clarity has a dead pages report, which are pages that have not been visited. It will help you with your content audit. And then PDFs also can get shown. You're also going to need mentions around the internet. This is where digital PR comes in. So you want to think about what kind of resource you can create, like a high value data resource, like our cell phone radiation report, which had an option for you to look up your make and model of cell phone, and it told you whether or not your cell phone was low, medium, or high based on the report. So it had a database plus the actual report. And then we did an embargo, and then we pitched it to a variety of different industries. This is why the website fell. But make sure you're getting citations in industry databases that make sense, or research hubs, and collaborate with your partners to get mentions. Brand plus topic together. So for me, it would be WO Strategies, Science SEO, or Journal SEO, right? These are the types of sites to target. So database type sites like Wikipedia. In that instance, you're going to need a coach. I love Beutler Inc. I was actually on a roundtable about PR and Wikipedia, so I've sat next to Wikipedians, and I know Beutler knows his stuff. Don't go in without some idea of what you're doing, otherwise you'll get kicked out. Large editorial sites, so that's PR. This sources for the Google Knowledge Graph. There's an SEO called Jason Bernard. He loves everything about the Knowledge Graph, and he's got this great tool, and he lists all of the sources that he knows about that are used in the Google Knowledge Graph. Google Knowledge Graph is Google's attempt to build a human brain. It's built initially because of Ray Kurzweil joining Google, because he wants to offset his memory to a computer in the cloud. Anyway, that's what the Knowledge Graph is. You want to become part of the Knowledge Graph. This has to be a part of your strategies of this year. I've been telling people this for 10 years, but it is definitely the year you have to start tackling it. Or, and I recommend everybody do this, prompt AI chat. Ask it, for my type of industry or website, what websites do you have in your training data, right? So make sure you actually ask AI too. Technical. Okay, so again, limit JavaScript. Be careful about speed. It times out after 5 seconds. So if your content is longer and takes more than 5 seconds to load, it could get truncated, or you potentially won't rank because you're too slow. Don't block LLMs in the robot text file. Make sure you've got XML sitemaps, and make sure you're interlinking. So when an AI bot finds one piece of content on that topic, they can then find all your pieces of content on the topic via links. If you want to know if your page that you're looking at will appear in AI search, there's actually this tool called ANDI Search. Put your website in. This is the World Health Network website. And if you actually get a display like that on the right, then you're good to go. The bots can read your website. This is what your new robot text file should look like. Also add in what other blocks you had. But on the AI side, this is what you should grab. The starts on the left and then goes to the right screenshot. And then if you're, move this, as things change, Dark Visitors keeps up to date on the different bots from the AIs and LLMs. Okay, brand optimization. You have to become part of the Knowledge Graph. So what it didn't appear in this screenshot is I believe World Wildlife Fund is not claimed to this knowledge panel, I think, if I remember right. So when you click on the little 3 dots there in a row, if it says claim this knowledge panel, that means nobody's claimed it. If this is your brand, you need to claim it. Now, you would think that's easy, but actually you have to be the admin on the Google Search Console account. So that might require some coordination. But definitely claim the knowledge panel, because then you can update it. You can change the social, you can change the address, you can change a whole bunch of things. So do that. If you don't have a panel, the way you start triggering a panel is you take same as markup on your about page, and in the schema markup, it will let you list, this is my YouTube channel, this is my Twitter account, this is my Wikipedia page, this is me mentioning Wikidata, this is me in Crunchbase. Again, go back to that list of things in the Knowledge Graph. Any place that you're listed in the Knowledge Graph, put it on your about page in the same as markup. That helps Google figure out how you're connected to the internet. You can manage Wikidata by yourself. So if you have your own account, it does not kick you out if you edit your own stuff on Wikidata. On Wikipedia, you need to have a strategy and a coach. So be careful about that one. Oh, wrong way. Okay, so the other thing you need to do is figure out, based on my brand and what I want my brand to be known for, how am I currently appearing in the LLMs, and where do I need to improve things? So here are all the prompts you could try. You have to do this for every LLM. They all have different training sets, etc. So start with ChatGPT and then move on to some of the other ones. There's also this really elaborate process that's worth trying that helps you pull keywords that are related to your brand, and also figuring out what questions to ask, because it's no longer keywords and then see what appear. It's like a full question. So you got to start by knowing what question you're going to want to improve the answer for. And then when you're looking at the results, make sure you're also looking at how the competitors are being mentioned, what URLs from the competitors are getting pulled through, because you want to reverse engineer some of that. And how could you be mentioned for those? And then there's a whole article here that kind of goes through how well does an LLM understand your brand for you to also read. Now, if you are looking at an LLM that does not have retrieval augmented generation in it, and you're not mentioned, the first thing you're going to need to do is put your brand or website with your target keywords and the brand on authoritative sites. Again, going back to that 63 list, and then prompt LM. And when you get a bad answer, you can definitely do a thumbs down. And if it's a good answer, thumbs up. That will actually help the LLM learn a little bit from you giving it some feedback. But then you have to wait until the LLM updates their training database. So this is what it currently looks like in relation to training cutoffs. You just kind of have to wait. If it has retrieval augmented generation, then you can get things going faster. The goal is for you to get your stuff into the training set. These are some of the sources. Again, there's a ton. These are the LLMs that have search associated with them. So Copilot is Microsoft, ChatGPT is using Bing, Gemini is Google, and Perplexity. And Perplexity has 10 million monthly users. I think you should keep an eye on it because it's growing pretty quickly. And this is what the front page of Perplexity looks like. So it's definitely attempting to be maybe a mini search engine. So I would keep an eye on it. So figure out where stuff is missing for your brand and LLM. Add that information to a place that's going to be used in the training set. If you can, add reviews from people or quotes because we know they like them. Make sure your stuff is easy to read language-wise, and format things with HTML. Oops, sorry. Make sure you're using semantically related words. You have to wait for reindexing. Now, this also means you can go into Google Search Console if it's a Google index and ask them to relook at your URL. There's a URL inspection tool. Put your URL in, say, please reindex. Not a guarantee they will. Worth trying, though. And then when you see it got the new information, keep testing. And then you have to keep doing classical SEO because the top 20 rankings is a piece of this. Now, this is an SEO. This is Marie Haynes, who's worth following, by the way. I love her. She worked with me on a National Cancer Institute project, in fact. But she had this brilliant idea of like, I'm just going to chat with ChatGPT and see what they tell me to do to rank in LLMs. So some of it's great. So some of it's like unique information, proprietary tools, niche stuff, so unique stuff, having influencer partnerships, multimedia content, case stories because it's unique to you, deep evergreen content, build a recognizable brand, syndication. Yes, that's more mentions across the internet. Use APIs and ask AI, and then create content within the LLM. That means create a custom GPT, or in Perplexity, you can create full pages. That is definitely worth testing. And then partner with LLMs. That means those paid partnerships that some of the LLMs have with major news organizations. That might be beyond what you guys can do as a nonprofit. Okay, and then how do you measure all this stuff? Again, this report, you've got the Kickpoint one that creates a custom channel and a Looker Studio report. But if you want to look at brand rankings, there's actually, this is exploding, by the way. I literally added a new one last night. So there are these ranking tools coming live, it feels like every week. But at the moment, we've got these 6. Now, Profound is amazing, but it's also enterprise. It's one of those you have to get a demo to know the price. So that's probably out. But feel free to use any of the other ones. Some of them might have freemium. And then I also think that your organization working on search and social needs to start having a really strong learning component because this is changing super fast. So join any AI masterminds you can. I was in one early on that was amazing. In fact, Mike King was in there for a little bit, which was really cool. Make sure you're sharing your learnings with each other, brown bags, Slack groups, however you want to do it. But make sure you've got a regular sharing context. And then there's still plenty of free AI training out there. So take advantage of that too. In fact, Microsoft Copilot has a full prompting course for nonprofits, in fact. So you should check that out. And if you have not done AI prompting, I'm going to just provide you a couple caveats just to make sure. The first one is they make stuff up. They call it hallucinations, which is super cute, but it means 30% of the time they're almost lying to you. So keep an eye on that. Just think of it, in my head, I think of it like it's straight from college intern, which I absolutely have to give very prescriptive instructions and absolutely review their work. Because I've had interns straight from college. That's what AI chat is. You can actually ask it, do I understand? Hey, I don't think that's correct. Can you provide references for that? And in the prompt, you could say, if you don't know, say you don't know. And that might actually limit the amount of hallucinations. It's important to know that ChatGPT mirrors your own intelligence. If you're using this for creating copy, I have a master's degree, so it's going to create master's level content. What you need to do is actually in your prompt, tell it to reduce the reading level, because here in the US, I think most people are at like an 8th grade reading level or something. It's much lower, right? So keep that in mind. Don't put personal stuff into the LLM. You never know if it's going to be used in the training data. I don't even care if it's one of those proprietary ones and it says it doesn't. I'm not putting this kind of stuff in there. This is the strategy of a good structured prompt. This is for you to look at later, but this is for Microsoft. And then bribing AI actually works, which is crazy, but it does. So if I want a really good response, I'm like, hey, I'm going to pay you $500. Even though they are not human, they can't take them. Anyway, it still works. Yeah, so review it. Review the answer, the references, the logic. Don't take stuff straight from AI and put it on the internet. By the way, Google says that AI content is fine if it's created and it's people first. Okay, it needs to have the human element. It still has to be high quality content, but there's nothing particularly wrong with pieces of content being generated from AI. And there's also studies showing that when AI has been involved, humans actually like the content a bit better. If you are doing this and you're brand new to it and you don't have an employee policy for how everybody should be using AI across your organization, I have a draft for you to take a look at. And then a couple more use cases for AI. One, brand. If you don't have a brand voice documented, this is your time to do that. A brand promise, brand positioning, and your voice, super important. And once you have it documented, you can actually prompt AI to create all your content based on your brand voice across your entire organization. And the reason you do this is that it's going to help cement the topic and the brand together. Also, it's going to increase your mentions and searches. And then from the algorithm leak, we know that Google measures brand value. What they measure it with is people searching for your brand or your brand plus topic in search and the number of mentions of your brand around the internet. And if you have a lower brand value, you actually can appear for various search features in search. So important to know. And documenting all this is going to make sure everything is consistent and that your employees can articulate and effectively share your brand with others. And then I've got a couple other resources. So I've got the guide for you about social strategy, how to rank in AI overviews, a custom GPT about, hey, can I even rank for an AI overview? So you should check that one out too. And the Copilot prompt kit, and a ton of other guides, and a writing checklist. And if there's a chance for questions, I can answer questions. Let's see what's, 6th grade reading level. I'm a big reader. It makes me really cry every time I figure out what the reading level is. Let's see what I got for questions, see if I can answer any. What can YouTube help you rank for? So the AI overviews tend to pull in a lot of YouTube. LLMs also like YouTube. And then 96% of the videos ranking in Google search are a YouTube video. So if you have a SEO tool, you can put your keywords in and you can actually say, hey, does this keyword trigger a video? And that's part of your YouTube strategy. Oh, that's so sweet. I would love a $500 tip. I'll even take a virtual $500 tip. Madam Oat, I think you should go look at Dana's presentation. She's from Kickpoint Digital, in case you're wondering that reference. And she talks about the fact that we're in a process where the analytics are possibly just going to get worse, regardless of what thing you flip to. And there's various reasons for that, but it's mostly human, like ditching the cookies. Wikipedia coaching. That is Butler Inc. I'll put that in the chat. Oh, if I can. He's here in DC. CAG assistant. Huh, that's interesting. Yes, the brand of the mother organization can help you. Also, in the same as markup, it has an option for you to make it clear that you are a division or a department of the bigger brand. So you just got to look up that specific. And schema markup, luckily, is very human readable. So if you're not a coding person, I promise you'll still be able to read it. It calls a book. You know, it's kind of straightforward. There's also plenty of schema generators online that are accurate. I don't think you should go back to posters and flyers. I can explain various acronyms if I didn't already explain them. And the deck is actually already online on SpeakerDeck. You can just Google me and SpeakerDeck can find it. How are UTMs removed or blocked? Mostly by marketers. Honestly, I strip UTMs from every single URL. So like I generate my own newsletter and I take stuff from the internet that I think is smart and I share it with my readers. Feel free to subscribe. I only do it once a month. And I strip the UTMs, which also means you have no idea how this visitor landed on your website. Ahrefs over SEMrush or Moz. Yeah, Ahrefs is actually rolling out, I think, more updates that are more valuable than SEMrush. Caveat being, though, if you have a local search piece to your search plan or a lot of paid advertising, SEMrush might be better for you because it really does all of those. Ahrefs does not do local search. It has a little bit of paid, but it really is knocking it out of the park in relation to all the stuff you can do on the search end. Also, I love all the backlink stuff. I use a lot for migrations. It's got great filtering that has been helpful. And Moz, I moved away. I was an early Moz user and I used it for 10 years, but it does not compare to Ahrefs and SEMrush anymore. So I moved my money elsewhere. I finally spun down my Moz account.
Catherine, this is amazing, and I know there's still more questions coming in. I'm going to step out so I can go help get the next session ready, and we'll definitely be letting everyone here know also when we get the self-paced courses rolling out in the next couple of weeks. So,
and they do cover how to rank in AI overviews in a slower fashion, and also there's tons of prompting in there for you to help create content.
Yeah, awesome.
Nice. Somebody found the deck.
Yeah, the course will be here. The deck is there, and then the course will be here on this platform in the coming weeks as well. So, thanks everyone.
Thanks, guys. I can hang out, Steve. Let me stick it back on slideshow in case you've got other questions. Oh, the course is going to be on the community, actually. So one of them's already up there. Let me get you a link. The one that's up there is actually my technical SEO, which you probably do not need unless you're in a big website. And I think it's /community. But honestly, I just have to review the courses. It's like a final review moment. I just got really busy this week doing this presentation. So we will have a search intent keyword research one, and I guess this community hub right here. And we're going to have a how to write for online and an overview. So so not this, but like very beginner stuff. It's the one I give to people. I work with very large brands, but they're all new to SEO. So it's the slower. Let me give you the map of what SEO is in 2025. That will also be online. Yeah, so the beginner class. Once we get the SEO overview up on the community, I would recommend you take that class, because that actually, I've trained 16 different people on digital marketing in my career. They've all gone through the same format. So I know it works. One's at Google, actually running the entire YouTube back catalog. Actually, 3 of them are at Google. The other ones are doing ad stuff. One was at Twitter, a bunch of them at digital strategy agencies. All right, if that's it. Anybody got any additional questions? Awesome. Thanks, folks. I hope you have a great week.